Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and good morning to everyone here today. So this is a topic review for English for Academy Enrichment, information transfer. Okay, to begin with, this is a topic that is actually relevant to the assignment that you'll be making, which is a pamphlet. Okay, so a quick recap on what you need to do on pamphlet is to come up with one SDG topic and then do readings, okay, library research, reading and also review on the content and come up with infographic pamphlet. So which means that half of the content of your pamphlet will be in the form of images, bar graphs, charts, pictures, etc. Okay, as well as some bit of writing, but concise writing, not in the form of long essays. So I wouldn't wish to see your pamphlet in long essays. Right. So the relevance for the topic of non-linear to non-linear in terms of the information transfer is for us to get acquaintance into the form of writing, in a sense that when we are in the world, when we are in this world, we see a lot of information being displayed to us. And oftentimes they are not necessarily just in the form of a linear text. Okay, so in short, linear text means written materials that is in the form of a sentence or paragraph or essays or books, basically wordings. And what you see on screen right now, slideshows, is also in the form of a linear text, while a non-linear text is presented in visual graphics. In daily lives, the non-linears is usually seen from symbols and also notifications. I mean, in smartphone, in our devices, in our social media, we have emojis that shows your expression of feelings like angry, happy, sad, boring, or crying, etc. So that is also a visual non-linear graphic. Or when you are driving, you have the signboard, okay, or the signal that says stop, do not enter, or red lights where you have to stop, okay, or green light where you can actually drive, or you see parking symbols, or in malls when you're walking by and you are looking for a place to pray, you'll be looking for the symbol of the mosque, or if you are looking for the loo, the restroom, you'll be looking for the symbol for ladies and gentlemen's restroom. Okay, so those are all non-linear, okay, non-linear information. In the academics, as in students, when we are writing reports and also academic piece of writing, we will have to report findings or understanding of content or research that we do. So we will put them in the form of a non-linear representation, such as the graph, the charts, the advertisement, the process, the flow chart. For me personally, for myself as a lecturer in my line of work, because I am involved in students teaching and learning as well as grading. Every single semester, I will have to come up with a bar graph that shows the total number of students getting grades for the semester. So what kind of grades that the student get for each of the assessment that they do. So for me, I am very, very familiar with the bar graph. Not so much of a line graph. Okay, so different work will require different sets of non-linear graphic. So for the non-linear text, one thing that we need to consider is that the information is limited to what we see because it's a visual representation. So the title is absolutely crucial. So I cannot just be giving you one type of charts or graph, but does not tell you what it is about. So there is no title or there is no explanation. And you also have to read the rest of the graphic And as writers may provide short forms of the graphic. And sometimes for the value of 100, they just use a picture of maybe one person, an infographic. So for us, when we see one picture of a person, like the silhouette, okay, so we know that this represents 100% or half a silhouette, that's 50. Okay, so we make use or make sense of the information that we see from the graphic explanation that is given. So we always have to look for the keywords, and we need to take note on the data in charts, table, and the timeline to help organize our ideas. Or if you have your own idea on how you wanted to explain the data in the charts, right? So basically, we can always swap between a linear text and non-linear text in the form of a map or a table or a timeline or a graph or a chart or a photo. Okay, so to exemplify, these are the general types of nonlinear text that we often get. I suppose for us as in education, the table that we always look forward to see every semester is the timetable, where in the timetable, we get to see the subjects that we would take in the semester, the code of the subject, the venue of the classroom, the name of the lecturer, and when is the time that we will have the lecture and tutorial session. That is a table, timetable. We call it a timetable for classes. And that's a non-linear text. I mean, imagine if I release to you a timetable for today's class in the form of a paragraph. Dear students, please attend the class at A416 from 10 a.m. to 12 afternoon for the subject English for Academic Enrichment in bracket UCS 1353 with Miss Noor Izhan. The total number of students in the classroom is 56 at the moment. Okay, so you'll have to like read an essay just for the sake of getting the timetable. Okay, so to simplify the information, we get a proper timetable. And to make things like easier, for me, I have my timetable printed out, and then I use my highlighter just to highlight the difference between the classes that I will have so that I don't get confused. Even with the timetable, we also differentiate them using different colors. Okay, so another example that we see on screen here is when let's just say you are using Waze or Google Maps, okay, to get from one place to another. So instead of seeing the map from Stesen Komite Batu Tiga to MSU, so the road should take about 12 minutes, 9 kilometers away. So instead of, let's say, a linear text, you turn on your smartphone, you set it on your dashboard, and you're ready to drive, and then you see an essay instead of a map. Okay, so as you're driving, either you let your Siri or your Google to read the essay for you while you are driving. Okay, so by the time the essay is done read, you already arrived. And it's like, and this is like one of the reasons why we stick to a non-linear visuals, because it's easy for us to see, okay, and also easy for us to look at the process. Okay, so quite commonly used in terms of any kind of whichever processes that we have, we use the chart. We call this a flow chart. Why? Because the process flows, just like time flows. So it's a flow chart. So if we are going to look at the recycling process, what happened from the beginning to the next, to the next, and to the next, or if you want to look at the processes of something being made, so from, let's say, a production, so from the farm to the cleaning up, to the sorting, to the arrangement, and then tagging of the price, and the process of putting items in boxes and setting up the delivery address, and then delivery to the people. So everything goes in a flow. There's always a process. We use a flow chart. Okay, next, we will skip on this. Okay, the next one is on the pie chart. This is also a form of a nonlinear. So sometimes we will get to see the percentage. Okay, so just yesterday I saw in our My Sejahtera report that the total number of people that did not survive COVID-19 is about 1% of the world population. So amongst the positive cases, 1% did not survive, unfortunately, and that is from day one of COVID-19. So there are millions of people that is affected, and from our My Sejahtera, they gave us the numbers. But I think it will be like a lot easier to see if they put it in a pie chart so that we can see the difference. Which one is the number of positive cases, which one is the one that has recovered, which one is in critical situation, or which one that did not survive. Okay, so we get to see the difference, and it's actually a lot easier for us to see how the number has, well, from the beginning, the number increased, now the number has decrease. So we convert the value into percentage, and it's easier to understand because percentage is always at 100%. Okay, there's always at 100%. And from a pie chart distribution, we know that half is 50%. Or a quarter is 25%. The value is exact. And when we do the conversion, it is always at 100%. Okay, so this is an example of the linear text. So either in a linear form, okay, favorite activities during leisure time, or the pie chart. Okay, so the values in the form of an essay writing, linear text to non-linear, non-linear to linear. So in comparison, these two different pieces of text, linear and non-linear, they both carry same information, only one in the form of image and the other in the form of writing. Okay, we'll skip the exercise part as well. And this is a bit long essay. So this is an essay about earthquake, comparison of earthquake that happened. It's sad to say that suddenly in Malaysia, we got an earthquake scare last week. Okay, it was a very surprising situation for many. We didn't expect. I didn't think that. I mean, the first time ever, right? So I didn't think that it would ever happen or ever occur, but it did. So nothing is impossible, I suppose. And climate change does change the world and the planet. And there is no place on this earth that is not affected by the world climate change. So somehow or other, we all have to work together to take care of our environment even better. And from then, there's linear text on the earthquake that happened in San Fran for 1906 to earthquake that happened in San Fran again in October 17, 1989. So there is a difference of many years, the quake, and how far or how, I would say, how severe it is, the earthquake that happened from 1906 to 1989. So between these 2 years, and what kind of damage that happened. Okay, and the next one is the line graph. A line graph is special because a line graph exists with the movement of time. A line graph can only exist with the movement of time. Without the movement of time, there wouldn't be a line graph. Okay, so it could be as short as microseconds, a line graph, or to as long as decades, but never an infinity. Okay, if it were to be an infinity, then I suppose there is no movement of time because time is irrelevant for infinity. Okay, for a microsecond, we see this in our heartbeat. Okay, so check your heartbeat. Our heartbeat is not 1 second, one heartbeat. Okay, it's not. Okay, and our heartbeat also changes according to our mood, feelings, and also the activity that we do on the day. If we just return, or we just stop from running a marathon, then our heartbeat definitely beats a lot faster than. Or if you are sleeping, then your heartbeat slows down because you are in a completely relaxed state. Okay, so that is a line graph. So we see the line graph. It is used in the hospital for the sonograph to look at the heartbeat of a person, see whether the heartbeat is normal or not. Line graph. Okay, but the movement is very fast and always fluctuating because it's a beat. Okay, heartbeats. And we talk about the word beat, and so goes for music. Okay, and so goes for music. For music, we see the movement of the wave sound from the beginning of a song where the song like start from slow, suddenly there's a rap part, suddenly there's a singing part, and then slows down again to Mr. And there's always a movement with time for a line graph. So in here, we have the number of X cases in Netherlands between 1983 and 1992 for the number of X disease. Not sure what X disease is, but this disease started slow from 83 and then slightly increase and then gradually increase up to 1988. Okay, and then the number goes down in 1989, but the number suddenly spiked to a high value of 400 in 90s, and then goes down to 1991, and then died entirely in 1992. So the number of X cases is 0 in 1992. So from the movement of the X disease in Netherlands through the years, so we can see the number of positive cases or the number of cases that is reported for the year. Okay, and from the line graph that is given, or from the graph that is given, we can actually make a conclusion as to what happened within those years. So in 89, okay, so there's something that happened that makes the increase spike really fast. Okay, so it goes really fast and really high in a very short span, 1 year. While from the previously, it takes 1983 to 1988. So that's about 6 years for it to rise to the number of just slightly over 200, but it only take 1 year for the number to increase from 100 to 400, just 1 year. So there's a difference between that. Okay, so the number of people, it's just a higher number of people getting the X disease. So perhaps we can make a conclusion, or we can make an inference that in the 90s to the 1991, that is the time when people started to develop medication, or if not medication, maybe vaccination, then the numbers started to go down really fast up to 0. This is especially true in the real life cases for the, I think it was for the discovery of penicillin. Okay, so as soon as penicillin is discovered, people get to eat the medication. Okay, so for infection material, and then the number of people who survive disease increased dramatically, and penicillin is used until today for modern medication. So it's true. Okay. So that is the reading that we do based on the line graph that we get. But there is also another set of inference that we can make when the number reaches 0. This is maybe just a little bit radical. Maybe instead of everyone surviving, it's everyone who is infected died. Everyone who's infected died. So that is also could be a conclusion. Okay, I suppose just last week I watched a Netflix series called All of Us Are Dead, where all of the students turn to zombie. It's a little bit like a Train from Busan, right? So the solution that the government take from the story in All of Us Are Dead, it should have been None of Us is Live. Don't get alarmed. Okay, none of us. Okay, so in that story, what that government decided that is to cure the the virus, the zombie virus, I suppose, is to bomb is to bomb the population. Alamak, sorry for spoilers. Is there,
Tahu pun ada.
alamak, spoilers.
Tak tengok lagi kan.
Alamak, sorry. That was very recent. Aduh, I should have said The Walking Dead. Tak, sebab the ending of The Walking Dead is also similar for season 1, where the main character bombed the whole area and he alone survived in the tank. Same, so that is to destroy everything. So in relations to our line graph, I didn't realize that I totally spoiled the story. Oh, sorry. Well, apologies in advance. I think when I upload this video to YouTube later, like caution, there is there are spoiler alert for to everyone who have not all of us are that just yet. Okay. Well, there's that. Okay, 1992. This totally brings back memory when I accidentally spilled one of the season finale of Game of Thrones to one of my friends. She didn't speak to me for 3 months. Well, Game of Thrones was like really big a few years back, so yeah. I suppose I have a history of spoiling stories without noticing. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, let's get to the next one, line graph again, still a movement of time from the year June 2006 to June 2007. Also 1 year span. Only for this one, it's a comparison between two line graphs of condo versus single family. Okay. So the two line graphs, days on market, well, single family does not spend much time in the days on the market, I suppose. All of the values for a single family in square blue, not more than 90, always not more than 90. While for the condo, supposed people who are not from a single family, the lowest is even higher than what the single family spent. So we make comparison. If we were to say for the ones who live in condo, their spending is double, if not triple, of what the single family spend. Okay, we move on to the last one, which is the bar graph. A bar graph is different in the sense that there are two sets of style to use in a bar graph. Okay, so the first one is the one that follows the line graph style, where there is a movement of time. So here we have 2000, 2001, 2002, 3, 4, and 2005. So all of the bars here is in the same color because it is an indication of the movement of time. So the number from 700,000 increase, decrease, increase, decrease, and decrease. So this is for a movement of time between the destination of holidaymakers from Malaysia to Korea between 2000 to 2005. Okay, so this is a bar graph that follows line graph style because there is a movement of time. And let's say if I don't like the bar and I wanted to change this one to a line graph, yes, I can. Okay, so just combine the dots together and turn it into a line graph. Okay, clear all drawings. Right. Okay, it is also, however, different for the next one. This is a bar graph that has no connection to the movement of time. So the first bar, the color is in gray for Australia, red in some land, orange in Korea, green in Japan, light blue in Pakistan, and purple in Sri Lanka. So each of the bar here, so the line one here in different colors, they are not connected to one another, and it is not a movement of time. They are separate. Australia. So for Australia, it's 700,000. Some land, 1 million. Korea, 600,000. Japan, 800,000. Pakistan, 300,000. And Sri Lanka, 500,000. So each of the bar graph here indicated a different values, and they are different from one country to another. And hence, if you wish to convert this bar graph into something different, you should not be changing it to line graph. Instead, you can change it to a pie chart. So from a pie chart, you can make an indication of the percentage for some land, and then Korea and Japan and Pakistan and Sri Lanka. But in order for you to convert the value, you're going to have to convert lah. Okay, so the value of Australia, some land, Korea, Japan, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka into percentage. So add all of the values here and convert all of it into percentage. And from that percentage, you will get a pie chart. If you absolutely dislike bar graph and you felt that I wanted pie chart, so I wanted to put pie chart, go ahead. Either one of the visual representation is good as long as the value is similar. Okay, so even in percentage, if you revert back that percentage into actual holiday makers value, it will still comes back to 1 million. Sorry, 700,000, 1 million, 600,000, 800,000, 300,000, and 500,000. Okay. So comparison from the previous one, with a movement of time, you can use this one or a line graph. Without movement of time, you can convert it into a pie chart. A table would do as well, but not a line graph, definitely not a line graph. So just like for a line graph, we have the comparison. For a bar graph, we can also have a comparison. So here we have the numbers of fundings for medical research for 6 types of diseases, and also the number of deaths in some land in 1990 in millions as well. So from this bar graph, comparison bar graph, we can see that because probably the number of millions that is spent in medical research for AIDS is, I would say, the highest. The number of deaths for AIDS is also lesser. But compared to TB, where the number of funding, the amount of millions spent on research funding for TB is so little. And when we compare it to the number of deaths, the death for TB is also the highest. Okay, and from the comparative graph, probably the policy makers, they can propose a balance in medical research funding so that more funding can be given to TB. And because for AIDS, they probably has found a way to curb the situation. So the funding for the disease AIDS could be transferred to TB, and then they could do more research on TB so that TB could be cured. Okay, for malaria is about the same. Diarrhea is also almost similar. Leprosy and tropical disease. Okay, so make comparison between the bar graph and also the two comparative differences. Okay. Sometimes we will only focus on only the highest and also the lowest value. But of course, the middle values also make sense if you are going to look at them individually. So explain to them one by one. With these two bar graph, you can actually write 1 full page of essay to explain the situation. Just to note on everyone, if you have not taken the Malaysian University English test yet, the MUET examination, essay based on nonlinear graphic is a compulsory question. You'll either be given pie or table or graph. Line graph is the most popular one, and you have to write an essay based on it. So this is a compulsory question. So I suppose if you are registered for MUET examination, or if your MUET examination was postponed last 2 years, if you're going to take it, this is the topic to study for the MUET examination. So again, this is a sample of an essay for the graph that we have just now. So the number of deaths caused by 6 diseases in some land versus the total number of funding. So we make comparison between the graphic and also the essay. The essay part will be covered on the latter part of the semester, but for today, I'm only introducing you to the types of the nonlinear graphic because this is what we're doing for the assignment. Okay. The essay, however, is only based on what you see in the nonlinear, only information. There isn't a need for you to inform about feelings, your thoughts, your personal opinion, etc. in a nonlinear essay. You only need to report what you see, the numbers, the values, and also the title. Okay, so just mention the numbers and values per se. So that will be all on the introduction to nonlinear graphic. Please refer to our Google Classroom right now. There is already a practice question. Please spend about 7 minutes and come back at 11 to Zoom session to discuss the answer. The question is already posted.
Okay, madam.
Thank you.
Madam,
See you in
Madam, I have
7.
question.
Go ahead.
Madam, just now I saw the GC, I saw the questions. Do we have any restriction for the word count?
Not more than 7.